Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today we are doing a currently reading update to chat about how April's been going, what I've been reading, what I'm going to be reading next, all of these things. So far, April update. April reading has been going pretty well, but like just kind of confusing, I guess. In the first half of the month, I really was just kind of in a weird reading mood. Like, I wasn't in the mood for fantasy, very unusual for me, but I didn't really know what I was in the mood for, and I ended up picking up a bunch of books that were kind of like maybe a little more literary leaning. Like, they still were speculative books in various ways, whether it was like sci-fi, fantasy, fabulism, you know, other kinds of you know, folklore or something mixed into it, but they all kind of like leaned a little more literary, which also kind of an unusual reading mood for me, but that's what I was in the mood for at the time. So I did, once I like realized that's kind of what I was doing, I was like, all right, we're gonna capitalize on this and get through some of those books that I've been meaning to read for ages, but I just never seem to be in the mood for, because they're like a little, just like a little outside my usual taste. Anyway, but I ended up liking all of them, you know, some more than others. Anyway, this is all to say, first half of the month was like a little unusual for me, but good. Then about halfway through the month, I felt like I had exhausted that reading mood, whatever that was. And then I just was like, I don't know. I have just been in this limbo of really not knowing what I feel like reading, because I'm tired of whatever that mood was before. I still don't necessarily feel like I'm in the mood for fantasy, and I don't know. I don't think I'm in the mood for sci-fi, but I've been trying to pick up some sci-fi. I feel like I just keep picking things up and putting things down. Anyway, it's been a confusing time, but not bad. It's just weird. So let's get into what I have been reading. The last book that I finished was The Last Quintista by Donna Barba Higuera, which is middle grade sci-fi about essentially that Earth is about to be destroyed, and they are sending a group of scientists and their families to colonize a new planet, but they have to go into stasis while they travel, because it's going to take them hundreds of years to get there. By the time they get to their destination, some things have gone wrong on the ship, and a extremist group has taken over and is trying to erase the memories, all memory of Earth, from the people who had been in stasis. And we're following a little girl who is the daughter of two of those scientists who were on the ship, as she is trying to like navigate this. I'm not going to talk about this book too much right now, because I am filming a sci-fi reading vlog, which that book is a part of, and I talk about it more in that video. So that'll be coming up hopefully soon if I finish that vlog. We never know with vlogs when I will or will not finish them. So I'll talk about it more there, but I did like this book. I had some mixed feelings about some of the elements of it, but I did like it overall. Then for what I am currently reading, my current physical read is The Boar Stone by Jules Watson. This is the third book in the Dalriada trilogy, but this is like a companion sequel to the first two books. The first two are a duology, and then this takes place like 300 years or so after the first two books, and we encounter some of the descendants of the characters from the first two books in this. And so this is historical fiction taking place in Scotland. The first two are in like tribal Scotland, just as Rome is trying to make inroads into Scottish territory. This is 300 years later, when Rome has a more established foothold in Britain and not all, but a lot of Scotland. We're following two characters who have lived in the Roman occupied portion of Scotland, and then because of events they end up on the other side of Hadrian's Wall in the unoccupied part, and then they kind of immediately get into trouble. But as I said, we do encounter some of the descendants of characters from the first 2 books. So how far am I into this actually? Let's find out. I'm about 90 pages into this now, almost a quarter of the way in. I feel like with this series, it often takes me a little while to get into the book. Like it takes me a second to get invested. I feel like I have now hit the point in the book where I feel invested and I'm like reading it more consistently. I technically have 2 audiobooks going at the moment. I am not fully committed to either of them, however, because I'm so like, who knows what I'm reading? You know, I don't know. Nobody knows. But I'll tell you what they are. I am not sure if I'm going to finish them or not at this moment, but here we go. So the first one is Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. This is YA fantasy horror, I guess. I haven't gotten to the horror part yet. I truly have read, I'm listening to the audiobook and I've maybe read the first chapter or 2. And so far it's like there's a small village, main character, her family are beekeepers, something scary in the woods. And a horse died and that was really sad. So that's all I know so far about the book. I do think that it is supposed to get like kind of creepy and scary as it goes. This is one that I had wanted to read because the cover gives me spring vibes, and beekeeping in general kind of gives me spring vibes, even though I know that like creepy stuff doesn't necessarily give me spring vibes. But this is one that was on my April TBR, and I actually have been doing pretty well with reading the books from my April TBR so far this month, which is also surprising and exciting. You know, I don't think I'm gonna get to everything from it, but like considering my track record for TBRs, this one I'm doing pretty well. So that is one of the books that I have started. And then the other one is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. I finally started this one. I am hoping to stick with it and actually read it because you all know this is a book I have been trying to get myself to read for a very long time, for at least 2 years now, I'm pretty sure. So I started this maybe yesterday, and I'm like 60 pages into it. I'm listening to the audiobook, but since I have the physical one, I am keeping track of where I am in this, and also sometimes maybe reading snippets just to make sure I know who people are, just because, you know, sometimes when you listen to like high fantasy audiobooks, especially if they get complicated or have a lot of characters, it can get kind of confusing as to who's who. So I am glad that even if I'm listening to the audiobook, I have the physical book to kind of like check things to make sure I know what's going on, who's who. I can like reread passages if I need to help myself like stay on track. So I'm really hoping that I stick with this. Oh, there goes an alarm. Hold on a second. Okay, that was my alarm to remind me I need to start getting ready to go to bed because it is nighttime when I am filming this. So hoping that I stick with this and like actually finally read it because I've been trying to for so long. And then as for what I'm going to read next, I truly have no idea. I am sure that these books will take me through the end of the month because that's really only another week and these are not short. So I'm not really planning to squeeze much more into the month other than what I'm already reading. If I pick up anything else this month, it might be Witch Hat Atelier. I have volumes 3 and 4. If I want something that's just like quick, easy, cute, you know, because that's sort of the vibe of these, at least so far. I've only read 2, but that's my understanding of the vibe, because these are chunkier and heavier. And so I might pick these ones up as like a palette cleanser, taking a break between or during these other books, who knows. But yeah, so that's what's been going on with my reading for April. I'd love to know how your April is going, what you're planning for the last week of the month. Are you squeezing anything into the last week? But thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye!